The U.S. Department of State actually issue some restrictions on people one more cause a threat to Ghana's democracy ahead of December 7. Now, the Secretary of State Eka Echremusa and in about 3 decades since 1992 ada Ghana ye kabi mamin kabi no yetimi aboho ban ekrekremu ye America ban no echremusa say there one more at the visa restrictions at the ba na afei obi bia no a wo beye niema ebekọ etia kabi mamin kabi amemu a yede eye adwuma ewo my Ghana bono saa nipa kro no enya ade a America ban no ebema no visa ma wetimi etukwan aba eye America oman no emu na mamene eye Professor Samuel Bet Bodi eni enkomo wono eye dean edema the Department of International Relations ewo eye University of Cape Coast na anope meneno eni enkomo. Prof, what you make anope good morning patron empom to saying
good morning me nyame adom me hoye na wonso
erade adom me so me hoye pa prof na me tonka na ache
nyame adom ye ho
that's right. Yeah, that trade passes anope so waje so. And first of all, at what point in time in international relations other countries be able to decide say one more ebema visa restrictions? I mean to particular persons one more say one more a threat to other nations' freedom and then their democracy. In the case of Ghana, and one combo anayedi.
You mean that was my main first of all, that was one mama kwenye. The tosu me no me office of international relations at the University of Cape Coast.
Okay.
Now say the ho no make say we are said about geopolitics and pempi you know or Maya so superpowers baby no baby are more interest war or more percent or more protect her. And you know anytime BB eba and I said the major events they say elections I ever seen or more personal analysis everyone say said the name of is there something at risk and is there something at stake say or more memoir ebia BB bet me akotima. And it's Sam nearby Nabia, almost nothing on my analysis almost a Debbie. I was saying, so no, you protect your interest. Na the ocean over most of our African countries, Meka say, and Kasa directives we said Benka, Meka say a wound empu here, Senka ye near me year, and Ka a wound here say foreign power be an external power be the bay issue directly say. The one you see, yeah, member of visa restriction. If we say, heaven, away Krumuha. And Emra, maybe be a coso pepe pair. And Ubimpo and Kodamian who said, me could do Bonibina me, we are Mejania call mindful Frubiso.
Yeah.
And so, Ocean, why history in Africa, no, and Pempino, Ube said, nay, will be a question, will be a cheap near Yema Basa, we are. BBC trouble never say you say Kimupe and I'm say oh no opportunity. Say you bet me akwasiki asylum go be binti no akwaje visa no eja ho na fe ema ne mofra ne mema na ebre mpanyimfo ebre so hono enti saa me mai na em say US e di omo ho agim say well ahead of the election ye nyina ye tie be democracy democracy no ho asem ka edne na mpempi no ya na troubles bebre no enkophobia se bio omo wodi kakra e na se akire enti no de omo kan se wo a wo beye bibi sa de ye ma o visa e na wadwane akotan ba bi na wakoso trouble e wo Ghana if say the omo ankasa no wo interest economic interest e wo Ghana has security interest bebre they have been our strong allies for a long time.
Okay.
Enti memo mu de enkameka se ye tutu ye niema yi a enka ehumpu ehia say ebema obi na abeka kire say we say ya ebe you say if you say Ghana we are sovereign nation
exactly the
sovereign nation yenia yenim kwan ya yefa so ye niema na emom na eduru me bi a na niema bi entwa yie enti no ubewi ase no na niema bi akodi bone but emom de me wa rehye mu say election na ebe no enya dia bibi boni dia basically was our regime. If we say you was track a very good track record. Just that election when the stakes are high. So the leading candidates the stakes are very high. And I'm not surprised that United States this statement indeed material commentaries there because other European nations here that the crown the same restrictions, caution, emra.
Yes,
for me, say better to your those things are even not necessary.
Yeah, remember what it means for our leadership and then the governance entirely. But many occasions, Prof, me war a year the U.S. Department of State website so main kind almost statement kakra na afi baby ye be here nchemo no menye wadwentre ewo ho or visa restriction policy on undermining democracy in Ghana. The United States is committed to supporting and advancing democracy in Ghana and around the world. The Department of State is announcing a new visa restriction policy today, which is that will restrict U.S. visas for any individual responsible for undermining democracy in Ghana. This policy will take effect in advance of Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections scheduled to take place on December 7, 2024. Now, I said this visa restriction policy would apply to only specific individuals who undermine and is not directed at the Ghanaian people nor the government of Ghana. Ghana has achieved 3 decades of democratic elections and the peaceful transfer of power between parties, a record to be proud of and a model to cherish. Now, the question is that this particular statement, isn't it in vacuum? Now, if you say, sir, policy way and yet directed at the Ghanaian people entirely, too, and yet directed specifically to the government of Ghana and its officials, then the question is that who are the people ever falling into the category of undermining democracy, and what will be the modality, sir? Measure, sir,
if you look at the statement,
yes.
See again in the international politics, the U.S. government will also want to be very cautious. Then you create the impression that it be a government, the government of the day, or government officials, and this policy is targeted.
Against.
They are being very diplomatic about it. Yes, anybody, the target is anybody who undermines democracy.
Yes, man.
That body could be an individual, it could be a government official, it could be somebody in opposition, it could be any other person. But in the entirety of the Ghanaian population, no dear. So when you are going about your duties, you want to travel and you are looking for visa to the US and all that, there is no visa restrictions on Ghanaians.
Okay.
There's no visa restriction. Me, US. I may hear my application. There's no policy. I say Ghana be a Ghana into the US for mommy visa. Name mum, and I said, I mean, to us, Cafe. Say, I buy nipa bi eko US akoye juma. There's no policy at US for the Cafe. And I'm saying we are buying nipa intino. I be a minister now, a deputy, and now a BB. To know, yeah, mount visa, there be. Visa because policy be anywhere say US say Ghana for visa and co US. Name say ebededi say you are undermining who ye be and my democracy ye cherish no and cost then you become the target. As to the modalities don't say you are the one behind it or you are leading or otherwise, The U.S. government has their own ways of determining it. And of course, they have their intelligence on the ground. It will be a bit more about saying, you are directly involved. You are providing funding. You are behind the scenes pushing a certain agenda. They have the authority. Just as Ghana, so because of Ghana, a bit more I said, Nipa we are assessment. Yeah, man, visa manima. And now, you make us in Nipa we or your man, a five more bar handle, while Emra, the man when you soon see a deporting. We have, as a sovereign nation, we have that right. In that same vein, they can also do the assessment and say that your involvement in undermining democracy in Ghana yema visa. But in the entirety of it, no, there is no visa restrictions against Ghanaians.
I was asking for the underpinning modalities because 39 days to election. Yani kase mimi se mi yesemtroni. Anope se many woodi nkomo ebi ana makofre politician bi na in discussing the issues no wako making commentaries be probably the Ghanaian people will not be happy with it. Now, from the beginning of the conversation, might not necessarily mean, say, as a presenter, no, you are urging the person on in making those commentaries. But at the end of the day, will such persons be affected? Because in context, it will look as if, say, when our provided platform, no, amanipa no, a use as, an object, what they are propagating a message. So the Department of State not coming clear on the modalities no means that everybody can fall short of this particular restriction.
But I was you are right. Said in your introductory, no, the context of every decision making no, is very important. Now, in this statement that US for the even though initially because say but very careful, cautious in what we do. It is we are some training. Now we will be interviewed. No, we can't say be unfounded. And I say one here potentially problematic at the Bibibano. Some of these directives are it plays on our mind. It may assure say immediately you would correct the person, or you would tell the person to withdraw the statement, or you can take other means and say, "Oh, withdraw there." Then you are sorry, you cannot proceed. If we say the media is very powerful when it comes to election discourse. Campaigns are course on there that more broadcast here and conversation. So the media is very powerful in this election discourse. For me, this statement will also be more like a watchdog for everybody to say, the world, there is an eye sitting somewhere which is watching what we are doing. It's careful, safeguard your democracy. Meaning, say, there is no way the U.S. state agency will come out and tell you that these are the modalities. They will not do that. They will rely on their intelligence system to be able to determine, say, Nipa Sumesi, say no, yes, in the Yemen of this.
Interesting. Now, there's a bilateral relationship between the U.S. And then Ghana as a sovereign state. Now, the question may be, Sano, and it's in this context, yes, we agree. Opesa over U.S. It is their sovereign mandate, say, one more grant of visa, no, or to, disapprove of visa, no. But what really happens to the relationship existing between Ghana and then the U.S. precisely when some of these things begin to happen to a far extent, politicians, becomes the people are solely affected. How will this affect the future relation going forward?
Kessben. The way I see this directive, and I know it's not the first of its kind, I don't think that it will negatively affect Ghana-U.S. relationship.
Okay.
Not at all.
Kessben.
It's a caution. It's a caution, and they are clear in their minds that they are not targeting government officials. They are not even targeting opposition leaders. They are not targeting anybody. They are targeting anybody who is involved in any impunity, anything that undermines our democracy. So I want to believe that the relationship between Ghana and the U.S. government will continue to flourish. But just that, as I said, they are also interested in protecting their interests, their economic, their security interests in Ghana, and making sure that Ghana, which is a beacon of the democracy, as we all cherish, as we all say, that seat that we have achieved for ourselves, it's protected. And see, I don't think that this statement will in any way undermine the relationship between the U.S. government and Ghana. In any case, most of the economic transactions that are going on with IMF and all that, it's fully supported by the U.S. government. And I just want to believe that from where I sit, the relationship, they are rather seeking to protect the relationship that exists between us, so that there will be peace for us to continue to, safeguard our economy and improve on the things that we have benchmarked for ourselves as a nation.
Yes, but do you agree on the notion, sir, the other Western countries must apply same as that directive dictates for the U.S. for IA?
as I also indicated earlier, I would say that for me, it is not necessary if we do our things well. But to the extent that sometimes some of our people can go overboard, for me, that caution, if it comes, it will still enhance the watchdog role that we want. So that anybody who is acting in any way, say, you will not have any heaven to go and hide. And for me, I think that our government and our policy makers should even take this as a precaution and say that if anybody is involved in any impunity, undermining our democracy and all that, the person will stay here, not just staying here. For me, it goes beyond staying here. But we ensuring that our own laws work.
Kessben.
Our own laws, the person will be put to test, and our own laws will go through, and the person will be penalized. That aspect, for me, is missing in this discourse. If we say, if it's not a CMA officer, on baby, I over Nagana, and so ya found family so Emma, a such a demand, young family, Empo. Obi betina ha yebeka se ye kwchena so obi hura na obi asori a group bi asori munya no munye dey and we say ye nyina no that caution must come clear to us in this election year wa obey bia undermine your democracy no we don't even need the US or the European Union or any other group, but we ourselves as a Ghanaian people will make sure that you face the full rigors of the law and you are not going to run anywhere. Our security systems will be activated in such a way that nobody, whether you are a politician, you are a civilian, whether you are in government, whether you are in opposition, nobody will run away to any other country when they cause mayhem. They will stay here and our laws will apply to them so that we can protect the democracy that we all cherish.
Very well. Prof, Adope, I'm grateful for your time.
Thank you very much, my brother.
That means and Professor Samuel Bet Bwedi Kusi, Dean, Office of International Relations at the University of Cape Coast, and Adope, Yeneno at the Enkomo, bringing us to